The four essential government powers that are guaranteed to appear on the National Real Estate Exam are commonly known by the mnemonic acronym PETE. These powers represent the inherent rights the state holds over private land ownership, and mastering the distinctions between them is critical for passing the land use portion of your test. We begin with police power, which is the authority of the government to adopt and enforce laws to promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. On the exam, this is most frequently tested through zoning ordinances, building codes, and environmental regulations. The most important fact to remember for your exam is that under police power, the government regulates land use without the requirement to compensate the property owner. If a city decides to downzone a parcel from multifamily to single-family residential, the owner generally has no right to payment for the loss in potential value because the government is exercising its regulatory authority, not taking the title. Next is eminent domain, which is the actual right of the government to take private property for public use. You must distinguish the right from the process. Eminent domain is the right, while condemnation is the formal legal process used to exercise that right. For the exam, remember the two constitutional requirements found in the Fifth Amendment. First, the taking must be for public use or public purpose. Second, the government must provide just compensation, which is typically the fair market value of the property. A common exam trap involves the concept of inverse condemnation. This happens when a property owner initiates a lawsuit against the government claiming that a government action has significantly diminished their property's use or value to the point that it effectively constitutes a taking, even though the government never formally filed for condemnation. The third power is taxation, the government's right to levy taxes on real property to fund public functions. On the national exam, you should focus on the concept of ad valorem taxes, which means according to value. You must understand that property tax liens are involuntary specific liens that carry a unique priority. In a foreclosure situation, property tax liens are paid before almost any other lien, regardless of when they were recorded. This super priority status is a frequent test point. Additionally, be aware of special assessments, which are taxes levied on specific properties to pay for local improvements like new sidewalks or street lighting. The final power is Escheat. This is the process by which ownership of a property reverts to the state when the owner dies intestate, meaning they left no will, and has no legal heirs who can be found. The purpose of Escheat is to ensure that property does not remain in a state of limbo without an owner. On the exam, watch for questions that ask where the property goes if someone dies with no will and no heirs. The answer is always the state, never the federal government or a private entity. To keep these four powers organized in your mind, use the mnemonic PETE. Think of Pete as the ultimate landlord of the country. P stands for police power, where he tells you the rules for your property. E stands for eminent domain, where he takes your property for a highway but pays you for it. T stands for taxation, where he sends you the bill for living there. E stands for Escheat, where he waits to take the property back if you leave no one to inherit it. The most common point of confusion on the exam is the financial difference between police power and eminent domain. Always ask yourself if the government is just telling you what to do or if they are taking the land away. If they are just telling you what to do, it is police power and no money is owed. If they are taking it for public use, it is eminent domain and they must pay just compensation. Understanding the constitutional foundations of these powers, specifically the balance between individual rights and the government's need to manage land for the common good, will help you navigate the trickiest questions on exam day. Passing the exam requires knowing that police power is regulatory and free for the government, while eminent domain is a physical taking that requires payment. Remember that taxation creates a superior lien, and escheat occurs only when heirs are missing. If you keep these distinctions clear, you will have no trouble with the government powers section of the National Real Estate Test.